price predictions are hard when you take out old highs. And so I do think we'll take out the 73,000 high before the end of this year and probably finish 100 somewhere in that zone. If I look at the market cap of gold, right, and Bitcoin at 70 is about 1.4 trillion and gold is probably 13 or 14 trillion right now.
Or actually 15.
15 trillion. And so we're 1/10 of gold. As baby boomers die and that money comes down to Gen Z and millennials, you know, could we be 25% of gold in 2 years? Maybe. That's a lot, but maybe. But I would bet you in 10 years, we're 100% of gold. Or 15 years, right? This trend isn't going away.
Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz has given his updated price prediction for Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency by market cap. During a recent discussion with Skybridge Capital's Anthony Scaramucci, Novogratz gives a bullish $100,000 prediction for Bitcoin in 2024. He expects prices to run faster and higher in 2025 and beyond as more boomer wealth pours into Bitcoin through the US spot Bitcoin ETFs. Novogratz believes the spot Bitcoin ETFs introduced Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency industry to a whole new world, a world of immense wealth worth tens of trillions of dollars. This world is the traditional finance world, and it is primarily populated by older generations of Americans who, before the ETF's approval, had many misconceptions about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. On January 10th, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission gave this multi-trillion-dollar industry Bitcoin in a whole different package, and the response has been quite overwhelming. Novogratz expects the unprecedented demand for Bitcoin through the spot Bitcoin ETFs to continue for the rest of the year and for many years to come. Another factor that makes the billionaire investor even more bullish on Bitcoin and the overall digital asset space is the gloomy macro environment in the United States and the rest of the world. According to the billionaire investor, the political scene in the United States and elsewhere has become nightmarish, with elected leaders repeatedly making nothing but wrong decisions. Novogratz is especially worried about the US economy, where politicians across the aisle are spending so recklessly that it's anyone's guess how the economy has managed to stay afloat. During his conversation with Scaramucci, Novogratz also discussed shifting political dynamics and what it means for the US crypto industry. He highlighted the importance of what's happening on the regulatory end and how it's opening the door for tens of trillions of dollars to spill into Bitcoin and the overall digital assets space. As we present clips from the Fireside Chat, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can join the conversation by dropping your comments in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
What's so interesting about crypto, and Bitcoin specifically, right? If you take for a second the premise that Bitcoin is digital gold, and the growth of it is a function of adoption. It's a function of people having it explained to them and believing it. By definition, almost, Bitcoin is sold, not bought, right? You get orange pilled. And so I'm a sales guy at my core, even though I make more money trading. My mom was a salesperson, my brothers, my sisters were a family of salesmen. And so it was very natural for me, once I thought this makes sense, to sell. And you know, I said this recently on TV. I was like, Jamie Dimon was calling it a pet rock and Elizabeth Warren. I said, guys, the arrogance that's coming out of your mouth is shocking, right? Ray Dalio, Jeff Yaz, Abby Johnson, Paul Jones, Stan Druckenmiller, some of the best investors of the world, Pete Brigger, Mickey Milker, they all think there's value, but you're smarter than them. Yep, Elizabeth, you are so much smarter than all of the best investors in the world that like it. I was like, you don't have to like it, but don't be so arrogant to say it's not worth anything, because that group of people saw worth in it. I saw worth in it early on because I thought this was an idea that would catch fire. It was an idea that would catch fire because Satoshi saw populism coming. The moment Brexit happened, it was the best thing for crypto. Populist governments spend too much money. That's why they're called populist. And we have a populist wave going around the world. We had a North Star before 15. It was called globalization. We believed in it. Collectively, rightfully or wrongfully, the world believed in globalization. And with Brexit, globalization fell apart. Now we're talking about resourcing and a war with China. None of that was there. And so we've created this political and economic environment for Bitcoin to thrive. And it's why I was talking about gold and silver, for hard assets to thrive. And Bitcoin is a digital hard asset that is beloved by hundreds of millions of people right now. What we're seeing in DC right now, last week, was the Democrats finally waking up a little bit. I mean, I've been down there so much, and I am more of a Democrat than a Republican, but these days I'm pivoting more to becoming a radical centrist. Because of Elizabeth Warren and the power she's had around the financial decisions in DC, in the Biden administration, it was like Democrats don't like crypto. And I said loudly and publicly, I was like, guys, there are 65 million dog owners in America. There are 85 million crypto owners. And right now, the Democratic Party risks being the party that doesn't like dogs. We hate dogs. I was like, you can't just hate crypto. And, you know, on the same day that Biden threatened to veto this arcane accounting rule, Trump came out and said, I'm your crypto president. And it has almost become a purity test now in the crypto community. You know, Republicans like crypto, Democrats don't. And if you don't vote for Trump, you're not a crypto person. And so we'll see. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of lobbying. There's another bill on stablecoins coming up. There's another bill on market structure. Hear me loud and clear. Crypto needs both Democrats and Republicans to understand it and to push it forward, right? It can't be a technology of one party. It will stink for the crypto industry because these elections are going to go back and forth for a long time. And crypto at its core, any technology should be mostly bipartisan, right? Crypto has a little for both. It's got the libertarian streak of Bitcoin, but it's also got the progressive streak of cutting out the middleman, of cutting out banks, of cutting out music publishers, of cutting out all kinds of rent takers. And so why Elizabeth Warren decided she hated it is a mystery to me, but we've got to move beyond that chapter.
Despite the remarkable success of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, U.S. regulators, particularly Gary Gensler and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, and politicians such as Elizabeth Warren, remain staunchly opposed to the industry. While Novogratz anticipates that anti-crypto rhetoric will persist throughout the year, he believes the situation will improve significantly after the November elections, especially if more crypto investors make their voices heard at the polls. One of Novogratz's recent statements on the matter reads, "It's time for the President of the United States and his administration to recognize that the American people have spoken, and they have expressed strong support for Bitcoin and digital assets. The price movement following the ETF approval is a clear indication. The same message applies to Congress. Let's take action and pass effective crypto legislation. This is what the American people want." Novogratz has advocated for regulatory clarity in the digital assets industry since at least 2021. Speaking at a conference in June 2021, the billionaire investor highlighted that increased regulation would make institutional investors more comfortable with digital assets and significantly boost the asset class. "We need some regulation," stated the Galaxy Digital founder. While this opinion may be unpopular in crypto circles, it is necessary for institutions to join the revolution. In his discussion with Scaramucci, Novogratz also discussed the macroeconomic environment and how irresponsible governmental policies contribute to Bitcoin's growing popularity. Here are more clips from the video.
We don't have the stability that a lot of us grew up with politically. And economically, things are constantly in flux. Listen, the U.S. economy in lots of ways is strong, right? We've got close to full employment. We continue to surprise macro thinkers how strong the economy is. To me, it's pretty simple. We've got a government that can't keep its pants on, following another government that couldn't keep its pants on, and we're spending 6.5% more than we're taxing. And so when you run 6.5% budget deficits, that's a lot of growth, right? If we were running a 3% budget deficit right now, we'd have flat growth or negative, but at 6.5%. Why is that important? Because we're currently spending about 26% of total GDP at the federal level. In 1984, my first real job other than being a gardener, I worked at the Office of Management and Budget under Ronald Reagan. And I learned back then the federal government is allowed to spend 20%, and they try to tax 20%. So if there's one lesson to take from this talk, it's the bellwether between Republican and Democrat was you get a 20% of GDP budget. Bill Clinton was the only president that taxed 20% and spent 20%, right? 1999, part his doing and part just luck that we had the tech bubble. But you try to keep that close. And what happened in 2015 with the rise of populism in this country, right? First you had Brexit, then you had Trump. Trump, really the first populist president of our lifetime, followed by Biden, another populist president, is they took spending up first because of COVID and then just because. So now federal spending as a percent of GDP is roughly 26%. That's 6% more than it should be. Chairman Powell wants to cut rates a couple times. I think it's, as he gets towards the end of his tenure, it will be the exclamation mark. I did my job. And he also is looking at, right now, we're basically 5.25% times 35 trillion, growing to 36 trillion in 100 days, growing to 37 trillion in 100 days, going to 38 trillion in 100 days, right? We are in the middle of a death spiral, and no one's talking about it. And so if I could cut rates to zero, it feels a lot better. I'm financing my debt at a lot less cost. And so part of the reason he wants to cut interest rates is less debt service, right? The Fed is losing a fortune every year for the first time. So you're running it back. It's like, how'd you do this year? Because the Fed is a bank. Oh, I lost 100 billion. Thank you. The problem is, whenever you look at financial stewardship of a country, there's two sides. There's the Fed share and there's the Treasury. The Treasury, which is an extension in lots of ways of what Congress wants. And we've got a Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, who has shocked me in how political she's been, how bad she's been. I mean, Janet Yellen might go down as the worst Treasury Secretary in our lifetime, right? We have a crises level deficit and she hasn't said a peep. Peep. Janet Yellen is a very smart woman who has been a civil servant and a public servant her whole life, who gets it. But because of politics, she hasn't said a thing. And so we're running this gigantic deficit. We are stealing money from our grandkids at an accelerating rate.
Several factors are converging that could bring about higher Bitcoin prices in 2024 and beyond. Potential Fed rate cuts, the end of QT before the November elections, increased demand for the spot Bitcoin ETFs, and increasingly gloomy macro conditions will all contribute to significantly higher prices for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Over the next few years, Novogratz estimates that Bitcoin will go from its current market cap of $1.3 trillion to capturing 100% of gold's $15 trillion market cap. Even with 20 million Bitcoin mined, that puts each Bitcoin at $750,000 per coin. Novogratz also expects Bitcoin to hit the much-anticipated $100,000 price tag in 2024. Do you agree with his price predictions for Bitcoin in 2024 and beyond? Please share your thoughts, comments, and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.